Solving percent proportion notes. So a quick review. All percents come out of 100. So here I like to think about your grades. And then we're going to fill in the missing words in the percent proportion. So they already wrote the 100. So over 100 will always be the percent. And every percent over 100 tells us a part to whole relationship. Sometimes we're going to use the word total to represent the whole, but they mean the same thing. The next part of our notes tell us for each example below, we're just going to set up that percent proportion. So we're not solving just yet. Setting up is usually where you're going to make your mistakes. So you need to read carefully to make sure you're placing the numbers in the correct spot in the percent proportion. So because I know we're going to set up proportions, I'm going to go ahead and write my line equals line. And I'm going to go ahead and fill in that 100 because we know that never changes. There always has to be a 100 in our percent proportion. So question 1 says, you took a test that had 60 questions. You got 42 correct. What percent of the questions did you get correct? So we have this number 60. We have 42 correct. And then the question wants us to find the percent. So the question or the unknown is that percent value. The percents are always over the 100. So I'm going to put a question mark there to show that that's what the question wants us to find. Now, the question becomes, is the 60 the part you got correct or the total questions on the test? So because it told us there were also 42 correct, 60 is going to be your total and 42 is your part. And again, we're just setting up right now. Second question, you want to buy a new iPhone that costs $650. The tax rate is 4%. How much will you pay in taxes for the phone? So same thing. We're going to go ahead and write the lines for our proportion. I'm going to put the 100 on the other side, but because it doesn't matter where you put it because they're equal. So again, there's always a 100. The percents always go over the 100. So because that number 4 has a percent sign over it, we're going to go ahead and write it on top of 100. And then the question wants us to find the taxes. And it told us the 650 was the cost of the phone. So do taxes represent a part of your bill or do taxes represent your whole bill? And the correct answer is they represent a part of your bill. So that 650 is your total for now. Number 3, the basketball team at your school won 70% of their games. They won 28 games. How many games did they play in total? So same thing. Here's our percent proportion. We always have the number 100. Percentages always go over the number 100. And they told us that we had 70%, so that has to go there. The question then specifically asked for the total. The total goes on the bottom, so then that means 28 is the part you won. So again, that is just setting up. When you set up, you want to look for the keywords. You want to, if they give you a percent, that one always has to be with the number 100. So that's the easiest one to place. And then your keywords have to tell you if you're looking for part or whole, and you have to set them up correctly before you can solve. There are actually only 3 steps to solving, so that's kind of nice. And step 1 is to set up that percent proportion. So again, I argue that's the hardest part. The next step is to cross multiply. So that means we're going to multiply diagonally. And the third step is to divide by the remaining number. So whatever number you didn't use in your multiplication, that's the number we're going to divide by. So here's 2 more examples. This time we're going to set them up and solve them. So we'll kind of do both steps so you can see how it goes. So number 1, there are 125 students in your class. 75 are girls. What percent are girls? So we're going to start by setting up our percent proportion. Again, you always have to have the number 100. Over the 100 is the percent. the question is asking for the percent. So that means our question mark goes over the 100. Now we have 125 and then 75 girls. So the question is, are all the students girls or just some of the students girls? And the correct answer is some. So that's going to be our part. And 125 is going to be our total. So step 1, set up the proportion. And like I said, that usually is what gives you the hardest time. Step 2, we are going to cross multiply. So what I mean by that is multiply the numbers that are diagonal. So we're going to take 100 and multiply it by 75. So 005, we used up the ones place, 007, so 7,500. And sorry, I had to squish that in there. Step 3 is to divide by the number that is remaining. So that means we're going to take 7,500 and divide it by 125 to figure out what percent of the class are girls. So we're going to start our division. So 125 can't go into 7. It can't go into 75, but it can go into 750. 6 times? 6 times feels right. 0, 30. Yep. We're left with nothing. So the question here is the answer just 6? And that's not correct. It is 60 because you have to fill in that ones place. So 60% of the class is girls. Our next one, a certain necklace is 32% gold. The mass of the necklace is 30 grams, and I want to know how much of the necklace is gold. So let's start with the easy number. What number has to go in every single percent proportion? And that answer is 100. Percents go over 100, so that 32 has that percent sign over it. Now, the question wants us to find the part that is gold. So the whole necklace isn't gold, so we're looking for the part. And then that 30 is the total down here. So same process. We're going to cross multiply. So 30 times 32. We used up the ones place. So 960. And then 960 divided by 100. 100 can't go into 9. Can't go 96, but it can go 969 times. So same thing as when we're dividing our fractions into decimals, we can't have remainders anymore. So we're just going to put that 0.0 behind there, bring the decimal into our answer, and 100 can go into 600 6 times. So there are 9.6 grams of gold in the necklace. So again, the trickiest part is the setup. Luckily, on the top of our notes, we've already done all the setup. So now we're just going to go back and do that cross multiply and divide to find all these missing numbers. So for the first problem about your grade on your test, when we cross multiply, we have 42 times 100. And that's 4,200. And then we're going to divide 4,200 by 60. 0, 0. 7. Same thing. Your answer is not just 7. Your answer is 70 because you can't just leave that ones place with nothing in it. That would be wrong. So you have a 70% on your test. All right, the second problem, we're trying to find 4% or the taxes you pay. So same process, we're going to multiply diagonally. So 650 times 4 is 0, and then 20, and then 24, 26. And then we're going to divide 2,600 by 100, 002. Bring down the 0, 6. So you have an extra $26 in taxes. And then last but not least, we're trying to figure out how many total games this basketball team played. So same process, we're going to multiply diagonally. So 100 times 28, the same as 2,800. 2,800 divided by 70 is 40. That feels like a lot of games, but they played 40 games. So, reminders when solving percent proportions. Make sure you read the question carefully so that you find the correct value. When you're setting them up, double check that you have the numbers in the correct spot. Remember, you always have to have that number 100. And then when you cross multiply, make sure it's the numbers that are diagonal and divide by that remaining number. So make sure you're never repeating numbers. You should use all three numbers in your problem. You just change when you use them to multiply and when you use them to divide.